Hi, this is Mr. Stanbro. This video is going to teach you how to do long division. Before we go any further, you need to make sure you understand the format of long division. Right here you'll see a dividend of 15. What that means is that is the number we're going to be dividing. In this case, we're dividing it by 5, which is called our divisor. So we're asking ourselves how many times 5 goes into 15. That answer is called our quotient, and in this case it's 3. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, where 5 goes into 15 3 times. Once you understand that, you're ready to move on to the next step. We're going to be doing 3 problems. We're going to do 8 divided by 6, 85 divided by 6, and then 857 divided by 6. So let's start with 8 divided by 6 first. What we're going to do, let's blur out those other problems so it doesn't confuse us. What I'm going to do is ask myself how many times 6 goes into 8. And that answer of how many times it goes into 8 will go right above the 8. So in this case, 6 goes into 8 one time. However, it does not go in equally. We have something left over. And the way I figure that out is I do the number I just came up with, which is 1, and I multiply that by 6, because 6 goes into 8 one time. So 1 times 6 is 6, and I write that number right below it. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to figure out what's left over, or what is called our remainder. So our remainder in this case is 2. The way I did that once again is I subtracted 6 from 8. 8 minus 6 is 2. My answer for this problem would be 1 remainder 2, right? Simple enough. Let's get a little more complicated. We're going to do 6 into 85. Now, in this case, 85 is a 2-digit number. You need to understand that the 5 is in the ones column, and the 8 is in the tens column. So that 8 really represents 80, because 80 plus 5 would be 85. So 5 is in the ones column and 8 is in the tens column, which represents 80. So we're going to start with the tens column, the column closest to us, closest to the 6. So I'm going to ask myself how many times 6 goes into 8. And just because we just did that, I know it goes in one time. And I write that once again right above the number that I'm dividing. Again, 1 times 6 is 6. And I find what's left over, and I now have a 2. Now, because there's something in the column next to it, I'm going to bring down that 5. Now that 2 that I have over here really does not represent just 2. It actually represents 2 tens, or 20. And here's what I mean by that. That 2 is now in the tens column. It's still there. I brought down my 5. The 5 is in the ones column still, and that 2 is in the tens column. So now I need to ask myself how many times 6 goes into 25. The answer is 4. Now I take that 4 and I multiply it by 6. And I get 24. And then I find the difference again. What's left over? And this time it's 1. So my answer would be 14, remainder 1. All right, let's look at a 3-digit number, 857. Now once again, because I made my number longer, it changes the value of the 8 and the 5. So my 7 is in my ones column, the 5 is in the tens column, and the 8 is in the 100s column. Check this out. You need to agree with me that 800 plus 50 plus 7 is exactly the same as 857. This 8 represents 800. This 5 represents 50. And that 7 represents 7. So what I'm basically doing is I'm asking myself how many times, remember I'm going to start with the 8 and go 6 into 8, just like I did on the last problem, and then I'm going to go how many times does 6 go into the next column. So I'm basically asking myself how many times 6 goes into 800. So let's do that. 6 into 8 goes in one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract to find my difference, and I have a 2, just like I did in the last problem. And once again, I bring down my 5. I'm going to wait. I'm not bringing down my 7 yet. I'm going to deal with one column at a time. It's really important you do that. You don't want to confuse yourself with bigger numbers. So just keep it simple. Bring down the 5, and now I'm asking myself how many times 6 goes into 25. And the answer is 4. Notice I write the 4 right above the 5 because that's the spot I'm at. I got to make sure I'm lined up. I'm nice and organized because long division is so much simpler when you keep yourself organized. I see so many kids that their numbers really start going on a slant or they're not lined up properly, and their errors come from that. Not because they don't know how to do it, but because they're not lining it up properly. So once again, I take my 4 and I multiply that by 6 and I get 24. And I find my difference, what's left over, and I have a 1. Now, I bring down that 7 now. And once I have that 7, I have 17. And now I ask myself, how many times does 6 go into 17? And the answer is 2 times. And then again, look where it is. It's lined up right above the 7. I do 2 times 6, which is 12. Kind of a long 12. Sorry about that. And the difference now is 5. I don't have any more numbers to bring down. And 6 does not go to 5. So that's my remainder. So the answer to 857 divided by 6 is 142, remainder 5. All right, let's do one more just to make sure we're comfortable. We're going to do 454 divided by 7. Once again, you're going to look at this number at 7 and see how many times it goes into 4. In this case, it does not go into 4. Now, I could write a 0 here if I wanted, but I'm not going to. So, 7 does not go into 4. Well, guess what I do? Now I'm going to look at these numbers together as a group. I'm going to look at 45. Now, instead of asking how many times 7 goes into 4, I'm asking how many times does 7 go into 45, because we could not do 7 into 4. So in this case, 7 goes into 45, how many times? 6. I write it above the 5, not above the 4 now. The reason is 7 did not go into 4. It went into 45, so it goes above the last column that I just divided. So 6 times 7 is 42. And my difference is 3. I still have 3 left over. Just like I did earlier, I bring down the next column. Now I'm ready for that 4. And now I'm asking myself, how many times does 7 go into 34? And the correct answer is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. And look at, once again, I'm keeping the columns lined up as neatly as I can. And now I need to do 34 minus 28. If you trade first, this would become a 14. And this would become a 2. So I'm looking at 14 minus 8, which is 6. If you don't need to trade first, that's fine. Now, 7 does not go into 6, and there's no more numbers to bring down. So that's my remainder. It would be 64, remainder 6. And that's how you do long division. It takes a little bit of practice. If you need to, watch the video again. If you're one of my students, feel free to come see me if you need some help. Have a great day. Bye-bye.